So hey guys, and thanks for joining me for another video. Welcome to the Random Watch Do channel, and today I want to do a video where I'm reviewing a watch that's actually not part of my collection. I normally only review watches that are in my collection, but this is a watch that's been loaned to me for a period of time, actually for safekeeping. A friend of mine has asked me to look after one of his Rolex watches whilst he goes away on holiday, and who was I to say no? Particularly given it's a watch that I would really like to have in my collection, and I'm super jealous. I'm super jealous of my friend. He will get it back, don't worry. Don't worry if you're watching now whilst you're on holiday. You will get the watch back. I'm looking after it for you, and you did allow me to make a review video. You told me explicitly that I was allowed to make a video about this watch, because apparently this particular watch has not been reviewed on YouTube yet. So not only am I going to review a Rolex watch for you guys, it's actually going to be the first review of this particular model that's ever been seen on YouTube. Okay, so here we are guys, here we are with the Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36, the new Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36 with a beige dial. What on earth were Rolex thinking? A beige dial. They obviously decided when they bought out the new case designs, they come up with the drawings for the new case designs, and they said, hey, if we're going to upgrade the case, we got to release some new colours, because you know how people, these Rolex nutters, go crazy when we release a new coloured dial, don't they? They go bonkers and they start paying 2 or 3 times more retail, and you know, we get thousands and thousands of people on the wait list just because we changed the colour of the dial. What should we do this year? And I bet somebody sat there in the corner of the room, some nerd, some geek, said, I'll tell you what, let's go for something really boring and pastel-y. And everybody would have looked at him and said, you know what? That's a bloody brilliant idea. Let's go for something really boring and pastel-y. And let's somehow, because we're Rolex, let's still make it cool. And here we are. Here we are with the old man beige Rolex OP36. Now, if you'd have said to me before this watch came out, Rolex are going to release an OP36 and an OP41 with a beige, a matte pastel-y beige dial, I'd have said, come on man, you're kidding me. April Fools, right? But here we are. They did it. They went for it. They also released a pistachio, what they refer to as a pistachio dial, and they also released a blue dial, again very muted and pastel-y, and somehow guys it just works. I mean, look at this. And when I saw this, when I saw the marketing pictures of this when it was first announced, I thought, yeah, that is going to be an absolute beauty. An absolute beauty in the flesh. And I knew that they'd get this beige just right. You know, it's not so deep that it starts to look yellow, and actually just looking at my camera now, the rendition of this beige is just about right, just about perfect, because sometimes the camera can actually change the tone of the colour. But right now, that's what you see on your screen is pretty much what I'm seeing right in front of me now. It's not so beige that it looks yellow, but it's also not so creamy that it just looks like an off-white. It's a proper beige, beige done good, beige done right. Now, the other thing I just wanted to show you now, again, you know, I'm not going to go into a deep review about this watch, but just to show you the clasp, it's got the standard Rolex clasp. You just pop that up, so obviously on a little spring there, and you just pop that open, and it just pops off of that clip there. You've got that beautiful standard Rolex caseback, the Oyster caseback. Lovely clean lines. Again, nothing particularly exciting here. You know, Rolex do boring design very well. In fact, that's probably the best way to summarize Rolex in general with their designs, is boring done well. And the caseback is boring done well. They're all the same. They all look like this. On the pretty much the Submariner, the GMT Master 2, pretty much all of the Rolex watches look just like this on the back. Bar from a few little changes of shape, and pretty much their clasps, this is the same clasp that you would see on a Datejust. Very standard, very easy to manufacture. They make these by the million, so it's obviously a very efficient design for them as well, because it's a standard clasp, pretty much a standard case and a standard case back. And as you can see here, it's on the standard satin finished Oyster bracelet. What a beautiful looking watch. And this is what they refer to as entry level. I mean, guys, seriously, entry level. There's no entry level about this. This is a stunningly executed, beautiful, simple watch that you can wear in the office, at home, as a weekend watch, down the beach. You can even take it swimming. You can certainly wear it in the shower. This is a go anywhere, do anything watch. And you know what I really like about this particular design now, I'll just hold it a bit further away so you can see it in perspective. What I really like about it is that it's not particularly blingy. You know, it doesn't scream Rolex, and that's what I really like about it. Now they say that about the Explorer 36. It doesn't scream Rolex. So what I'm going to do is I've actually got my Explorer 36 on my other wrist here. This is my watch. See, this is my friend's watch, and he's kindly allowed me to review it. This is my watch, but they happen to be the same size. The Explorer 36 is a 36mm. Is a 36mm watch. So there you go. Two, technically, 36mm watches. And here they are, side by side. Two beautiful watches. Now, you may not be able to see it in this video, but the Explorer, this watch here on the right, is a tiny, tiny bit smaller than the Explorer 36. Than the Oyster Perpetual 36, my mistake. The Explorer 36 here on the right is actually about 35.5mm in case diameter, whereas I believe this is a true 36. Now, it's barely detectable. One thing I noticed when I first put these watches next to each other was that the dial on the OP36 looks bigger, but actually that's an illusion. The interesting thing is, and I won't clonk these two watches together, I'll get them as close as I can. See if I can get that in focus. There you go. The dials are actually exactly the same size. In fact, I would go as far as to say they're using the same glass. The dials are exactly the same size. The only real difference when you look at these two watches, apart from the dial, of course, the actual colour, and let's forget the hands for a moment, we'll come back to the hands in a minute, but if you look at the bezel here, the bezel on the right, the profile is actually just a flat angle, whereas the bezel on the left, the profile is rounded. Now that does change the complexion slightly of the watch. Now if I just move it around in the light slightly, you'll detect that the light bounces slightly differently, obviously, off of the Explorer compared to the OP on the left. The OP on the left, because it has the rounded domed bezel, it seems to break the light up before it disperses it, before it reflects it back, whereas the bezel on the right seems to reflect the light much more like a mirror. Not quite like a mirror, but much more in a mirror-like effect. So it does play with the light differently. I think the Explorer probably plays with the light. Huge bee just shot past me there, distracting me. If it's not helicopters, it's bees around here. And so the bezels are different. Now the hands are different, obviously. The Explorer 36 has the quintessential Rolex sports watch hands, the Mercedes hour hand, and of course the OP36 has the same hands, I think, which are on the Datejust, I believe. From a Lume perspective, you can obviously see that there is no Lume at 12 o'clock on the OP. They've replaced it with the Rolex emblem, whereas on the Explorer you've obviously got the Lume at 12 o'clock. You've got loomed numerals as well, and you've also got a Lume dot on the seconds hand, which is not present on the OP36. Now, I will do a Lume shot. I'll drop in a Lume shot video of these two watches, because the Lume on this is great, by the way. The Lume on this OP is really, really good. And that's because these batten markers, have actually got quite a healthy dollop of Lume in. And also at the 3, as you can see, at the 3, 6 and 9, they've actually got 2 battens. They got double the amount of Lume, and it really does work quite well. And the hands are surprisingly good. Although it doesn't look like there's an awful lot of Lume in those hands, they do reflect, or they do disperse light. No, not that's the wrong word. They do emit light. That's the word I was looking for. They do emit light in a lot stronger frequency than you might expect. In actual fact, they're very, very close in terms of luminosity. There's another big word for me today. They're very, very close in terms of luminosity to the Explorer. Surprisingly close, actually. So really, really good lume on the OP36. Now, what I wanted to show you was the bracelets, because here's where some big changes take place, and you can see that straight away. The bracelet on the OP36 is wider. It's wider by 1mm. So the Explorer 36 bracelet on the right here is 19mm, whereas on the left here the OP36 is 20. It's quite a difference. And by the time you get here, guys, here's a big difference. Here's a big difference in the width. And the clasps, wow, look at these clasps. Look at the size difference. Look at the size difference in these clasps. The OP36 clasp is considerably longer by, I'm going to say, a good 8 or 9mm longer, and it's also wider. And then, of course, when you pull these two clasps up, again, the difference between these two clasps, of course, is that I've got a little flip lock here. But look at the size difference. Again, see if I can get them as close as I can. The OP36 clasp is wider by a good, I'm going to say, millimetre, maybe 1.5mm compared to the OP36. There's a big difference there. And there's a big difference in the wearing experience. Now let me just put the OP36 on, because I want to talk to you about how this watch wears, because this ultimately is a review of the OP36. I've done a review of the Explorer 36 before, but there you go. There's the OP36 on my... Let me just pull the camera up here so you can see it a bit differently at a different angle. There you go. So there's the OP36 on my 7.2-inch wrist, which is in metric terms. We don't often do metric, do we, in the watch hobby? But in metric terms, what's that going to be? That's about 182mm in diameter. In circumference, sorry, not diameter. And so yeah, pretty medium to maybe slightly above medium sized wrist of mine there. And the OP36, I think, sits beautifully on that. And a lot of you guys out there, maybe with you know, slight issues that you might not want to talk about in public, think that 36mm is too small of a watch for a guy, for any guy, apparently, irrespective of your wrist size. Hey, go and see a counsellor. Take it up with them, not me. But 36mm is a perfect size, I think, for a gentleman's wrist. Whereas, conversely, 36mm on the Explorer does wear slightly finer. Now, I think it's got a lot to do with the bracelet. The bracelet on the Explorer 36, as I said earlier, it certainly is a lot narrower, and you can feel the difference. When I compare this bracelet to the OP36 bracelet, the OP36, I think, actually wears quite nice, actually a little bit tighter to the wrist because it's wider. There's more contact, if you like, with the skin. Let me just come out a little bit there. There you go, 36mm. On a 7.2-inch wrist, very narrow bracelet, dainty, one might say. There's a word of the video, dainty bracelet. Whereas the OP36, let me just swap back to the OP36, has a chunkier, more robust, almost tool-like bracelet, and it does hug the wrist really nicely. I'd go as far as to say I actually think that the bracelet on the OP36 hugs my wrist, and I'll just talk about my wrist just so that people don't get upset. It hugs my wrist actually nicer than the Explorer 36 does. This is a more comfortable, natural feeling watch. I think the changes that they made to the Explorer, bracelet was more about maybe the aesthetic, trying to get it a bit more vintage looking than purely comfort. The OP is designed purely for comfort, whereas I think maybe the Explorer 36, some of the design changes they made with this watch were more about, you know, going back to a vintage aesthetic, which I think they nailed, by the way. I think the Explorer 36 has nailed it when it comes to the vintage aesthetic. Those design cues, really narrow bracelet. But the OP36, there we go, the OP36 wears nicer. There you go. Right, guys, that's the end of this quick show and tell. Now, of course, the question we need to answer is, can the OP36 and the Explorer 36 coexist together in the collection? So there you go. The Oyster Perpetual 36 with the beige dial. Beautiful watch. There it is. Absolutely beautiful. Having now seen this and experienced this, and I'm very diligently and carefully looking after this for my friend. He'll get it back in January when he gets back off of holiday. Having now experienced this watch myself and spent a bit of time with it, reviewing it and comparing it to my Explorer 36, I can, without any shadow of a doubt, confirm and clarify that these two watches can coexist together in a collection, which you would have thought is a little bit counterintuitive. They're both 36mm diameter watches, and they look the same. They've got the Oyster bracelet. They're both pretty much completely satin finished. From a distance, it looks like the only difference between them is one's got a beige dial and one's got a black dial. But of course, as I've shown you in the video, in the close-up, they're actually very different. And yeah, for sure, they can 100% coexist together. And it leads me to think, I think it was a really smart move by Rolex to actually beef up the Oyster Perpetual, and also just as a smart of a move to reduce or to slim down, particularly the bracelet on the Explorer 36. For some reason, this really thin, dainty bracelet on the Explorer 36, despite the fact that the Explorer 36 is a tall watch, and you would have thought it would have the opposite of a dainty bracelet, it just seems to work really well. And maybe that's the contrary design language that just seems to work for some reason. And of course, with the OP36, you would have thought they'd have given the OP36 the dainty bracelet, but they haven't. They've gone the opposite direction. They've given it the big, beefy, butch, tooly bracelet. So there you go. Different clasps, of course, but even the clasp on the OP36 is bigger and beefier. Very interesting, isn't it? So there you go. So there's the end of the review, guys. There's the end of the comparison. And to answer the question that I was asking at the start, absolutely 100%, the OP36 and the Explorer 36 can coexist together very happily in a collection. And I want an OP36 beige dial. That's the end of this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I really would like it if you haven't already to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me, especially going into 2026. I'm really keen to boost the subscribership. I'm really keen to make more videos, and I can only do that if I get more hits and more people watching, subscribing, liking, thumbs up, and all that kind of fun stuff. Really appreciate you watching the video, guys. Thanks for everything. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for the really positive comments. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Cheers.